Okay, we're gonna open the Monday, October 26th, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting at 4:32. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are we set up with Zoom? Anybody on there?
Fred's iPhone.
Fred's iPhone, got it, okay. Let's see, we're gonna do the warrants. Jason, you wanna read the warrants?
Make a motion for payroll warrant 2117 in the amount of $194,955.57.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Make a motion for bill warrant 2117 in the amount of $1,005,133.56, which breaks down to the town, $266,707.71. Water and sewer, $12,794.83. Payroll withholding, $8,334.17. Light bills, $361,295.68. Grants and revolving, $21,983.17. Chapter 90, $74,018. And to other funds, $260,000.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion?
Yeah, explanation on the 260,000 for the ATM article transfers to other funds.
I have none. I was just given that information.
Is that what Ellen did today? I talked to her earlier. She didn't say what those were about, though.
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Can you ask her for clarification on that?
Just get an 80-20 breakdown, just the bulk of it. If there's a big number and then just a bunch of little ones.
Do you want to hold off on approving that portion of it, or do we want to move forward with?
Are the warrants here?
Yes. I don't know if I have them. Yes.
Because we could just go back to this, look at this later. It's the detail is
All right,
here
let's
in this
table
row.
bill warrant until we can take a look at that after everybody else has done their business. That
Yeah.
way we're not holding them up. Is that agreed?
That's fine.
Okay. We'll move to, we don't have any minutes to approve?
There's no minutes, right?
Okay. Move to appointments. So we have the appointment of Jonathan Ryopel, Main Street, Groveland, Mass. To Water and Sewer Commission effective 10/26/20 through next annual election. Everybody review that email? Is Colin still here?
I'm in the other room.
You're in the other room. Perfect. Stand right there. So I'm assuming the went through an interview process?
So we actually lost a commissioner who moved out of town,
Yeah.
and Jonathan has volunteered to be put into that role until, I think he can be in it until the next
Election.
election period.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for stepping up and volunteering. No concerns at all with that?
No, he works in the industry, so he's got some background knowledge,
Okay.
and he's volunteering.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we appoint Jonathan Ryapel to the Water and Sewer Commission through the next annual election, up till the next annual election.
I'll second
Second.
that.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion?
Assuming the next annual election is May 2021.
Should be. Yeah, it should be.
No. Our election's the first Monday in May.
May 2021 is,
Oh, I see what you're saying, the year, yes, absolutely.
All those in favor?
I thought you were saying a date.
Next up, appointment of Mally.
Yes, Mallory Lees.
Mally Lees of Newton, New Hampshire, to part-time position of Water and Sewer Administrative Assistant, starting 10/27/2020 for 19 hours a week at $18 an hour. So I did look through your resume. You have a lot of customer service experience, so that's good. Anybody have any questions for Mally? Anybody?
not of Maui.
Any questions for Colin, who's in the other room?
Yes, Colin, this is to fill an existing position that's currently vacant? That was a yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, because the other woman got bumped up to full-time, which meant that the part-time position was now vacant that you had to backfill for. Okay. Jason, any questions for Colin or Mally?
Nope.
Ed?
Yeah, a lot of customer service experience, but I don't see anything here as far as office experience, dealing with numbers. There's a proficiency in Microsoft Office, but nothing as far as money goes. Maybe you can have her explain that, if she has any experience with handling figures and office work.
Colin, you have any input into that part of the role?
Yeah, I mean, that's predominantly gonna be Heather's role.
Right.
Mally's coming in, learning the ropes, helping with more of the, taking our office and organize everything that's been there, filling in for when Heather isn't there. But you gotta start somewhere, unless you've worked in a water office, you're not gonna have water office experience. So I think she's more than capable of, stepping in and learning and helping the town.
Anything else, Ed?
No.
Anybody else have any questions?
This is more of a clerical role than it is of accounting, finance, or,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
All set?
Good.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
That was easy,
Welcome
right?
aboard.
Painless?
Thank you. You're all set, okay?
Colin, you're all set for things, right?
Yeah, yeah. As far as I know.
What's that?
As far as I know.
All right, yeah, I don't think we have anything else on here for you, so unless you want to hang out, you don't have to stick around. All right, thank you. I'm going to hold off on Bonnie Murray until we get into the COVID discussion first. Yeah, she can come in now. So let's move to COVID discussion. And Claire and Deb, any updates? I thought I saw some new things come out the other day.
Pardon?
I thought I saw some new numbers or some new information come out the other day.
You want to, yeah, go ahead. You go about what?
Okay, so as far as numbers go,
The microphone? Yeah.
as far as numbers go, we have
Green on
4
top of the
active cases currently,
Yep.
and 2 of them should be coming off tomorrow, as long as everything's still good. And one will be coming off the following day on Wednesday, if everything's good with them. We're currently following 8 contacts. All the 12 children from, or high school students from Pentucket cleared. Okay, so they're either back in school or, you know, they can have liberty outside their home. And that's really it for the cases,
That means we'll have, after these other ones, we'll just have one active one.
hopefully, right.
So, I'm sorry, what was that?
We'll have one active, these other 3 are coming off within the next 2 days.
Right.
We'll have one active.
Okay. So has there been, more work being done as far as contact tracing and updating?
Well, I'm working on the contacts now,
Mm-hmm,
you know, which I hadn't done before.
right,
So, you know, I'm trying to, like, go a little bit at a time, so I don't get too overwhelmed.
okay.
Plus, I need someone, you know, I need a coach.
All right, anybody have any questions on this part?
Total cases to date still stands at 56,
We're up to 58.
58.
D8. Jason, anything?
No, not yet.
Ed?
No, just 58 cases, but 3 active and 2 are coming off within a few days.
Currently, there's 4 active, okay? 3 should be coming off, which will bring us down to 1. And hopefully it'll stay there for a few days, because they'll be doing the numbers again, you know, to determine where we sit
Mm-hmm,
town-wise.
okay.
West Newbury wound up in the red again, this last go-around.
Mhm.
And I noticed that Boxford was in the red as
Red.
well.
They're in the red now.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I don't have any contact over there, so I don't know what happened.
Well, what it is, a color coding, it's, if the positivity rate continues to increase instead of, you have to go down, I think, for 2 weeks in a row for your color to change.
Mhm.
So for the smaller towns, it's really easy to become red with very few cases, whereas you look at a town like Lawrence, the spreadsheet I sent you, the positivity rate in Lawrence is what, at 8%. We're down at like below 1%,
Right.
as is
Right.
Boxford. So for the tiny towns, these colors, I know they're important. However, it's not on the same scale as the cities when they go to red.
Right.
And
We
the
had
kind of
7
in-
cases
Yeah,
that put us
Mhm.
into red.
right.
It's not a lot.
Right, because it's based on number of cases per 100,000 of population, right?
Right.
So,
The positivity rate is based on the number of people who've got tested, and out of that
I know what the
number,
positivity rate is, but the red, the
colors
significant-
are related.
The colors are related to the number of positive cases per 100,000 of
Posit-
population.
well, it's the positivity rate, and over a 2-week period, what is it doing? That's what, if you read the small print on it, it tells you that. Because I thought that was interesting, because if you had less than 4 cases, I'll have to turn something off, you actually will have no color. That's how you end up with no color, if your cases go below 5. So the colors are kind of a tracking for the positivity rate. They're trying to keep a track of what's happening here and now, not what's happening overall number of cases per 100,000. I think they've changed the metrics slightly.
Any other questions on the updates anyways? Okay. So as far as yard sales and public openings of town buildings, I don't think that that's changing based on your recommendations, right? There hasn't been many yard sales and the weather's kind of lousy for it anyways. But recommendations for town buildings, those should remain as is.
Yeah, right now, especially because everything's starting, not our area, but other areas are going up, so.
Right. Okay.
Status quo now.
The Congregational Church is going to be doing their church fair, and
Virtual.
I was like,
Oh,
you know.
but it's
No, it's
But
virtual.
it's online.
It's
It's
virtual,
online, in
yes.
case anyone
It's
asks.
all virtual.
Okay.
Yes.
What are they doing with that?
The Snowflake Fair over the road.
Yeah.
Groveland Congregational Church is all virtual, it's
Virtual.
all online.
Okay. All right, so I think that piece is done. Thank you, Claire. What I want to do is, if Claire, if you could take a seat back, I want to bring, yeah, I know, I gotta point her still. I want to bring Anita up for a discussion on COVID and contract tracing and her experience with doing this and kind of where we should be going. Yeah, if you want to sit over there.
May I ask you a question? Did you got a copy of the spreadsheet as far as the staffing needs and the amount that we're estimating?
No.
She told me that she was gonna provide it to this meeting too, so
Oh,
Ellen, our accountant.
she was working on it when I talked to her earlier because something else came up that she had to add to it, to the request. So
Okay, because I'm
this is
just-
gonna be part of that request that we were gonna talk to Anita
Right,
about,
that's
the
what
number
I
of
was
hours and the
wondering
number of pay rate.
Okay, good.
Anita, thank you for coming out in the lousy weather.
Oh, I enjoy rainy days.
Ugh,
I do.
You can have them. So, a couple of weeks ago, we had a discussion based on what we were kind of missing, based on reporting to the other towns, the school district, to the residents. We're trying to fix that, right? So, your experience has been over the last, I don't want to age you, a lot of years of
It's fine.
doing contract tracing, doing pandemic information, doing reporting and investigative, this type of nature. So what I want to do is make sure that everyone understands what that looks like from your perspective and what we should be doing to get things in order so that the school system is up to date with what Groveland has and the communication is there. as well as making them available to have the information they need to make decisions on opening school or closing school, or what cases mean not only to one town, but 3 towns, and different schools within those towns. I hope that helps.
Yeah, right. For anybody that's watching that doesn't know me or know who I am, my name is Anita Wright. I reside at 21 Ashcroft Terrace in Groveland, Massachusetts. I am the former public health nurse for the town of Groveland. I served 27 years in that position. While I was doing that, when I wasn't doing that, I was on staff at the Brigham and Women's Hospital as an expert clinician in burn and trauma care and medical intensive care. I retired from the Brigham and Women's Hospital in 2014, and as of the public health nurse in Groveland in 2018. So how did I come to sit here today? It's good to see you laughing, Kathy, it really is. Because of my relationship, and most of the guys know me, those in town who don't, it was as the former public health nurse, and I often interacted with people in town hall. I was consulted to review and assess the circumstances pretty much that led us here tonight. And that was the letter of criticism regarding Groveland's non-participation in the regional school COVID-19 planning and strategy efforts. I was initially contacted by Mr. Wood, and then and a few days later I met with Mr. O'Neill, and I lastly met with Deborah Hull, just to get a sense of where things are today and what's going on in each of the divisions. I watched the recorded Board of Selectmen meeting of October 13th, 2020, where a letter was read and explanations were sought, and frustration was clearly evident. I was asked to present my assessment and thoughts to you tonight. The letter from Diane Dardino was very difficult to hear and consider. But it did not occur without provocation. And after months of trying to resolve a matter, it really was her breaking point. Both sides could have handled some things differently. There were conversations, maybe a couple of emails or two, some phone sessions, just talk, people bumping into one another, superintendent talking to you, so on and so forth. You talk to her, and there's lots of conversation, but nobody really was communicating. And all of this in the middle of a pandemic. For me, the worst part was the failure to act where there was a duty to act. This was a matter of priority that was mishandled on our end. Pandemics, by their nature, are fluid. One has to adapt and adjust and be able to pivot quickly and think outside the box and utilize many available resources. You must be proactive, not reactive. Ms. Dardino is a supervisory contact tracer and trainer who reasonably expected professional and knowledgeable response to her repeated requests for the Groveland Board of Health through the public health nurse to step up and provide contact tracing data to the Tri-Town Regional School. It was a critical set of data and metrics for their planning and strategy. As best as I can ascertain, from about somewhere in mid-August to October 12th, the public health nurse, a member of the Board of Health, a member of the Board of Selectmen, and the superintendent and all talked about Groveland getting up to speed, but nothing really happened. No one took responsibility. No action occurred. Messages, phone calls, requests were met from her point of view with foot dragging, vagueness, buck passing in the middle of a pandemic that is now surging again across the nation. I could go into great detail on what I learned, but it really isn't what the issue is. The priority right now is to have this conversation and understanding and fix this. So I am here tonight to offer clarity, background, discussion on details or processes of Department of Public Health, Board of Health, Public Health Nursing, and to answer your questions and offer some suggestions. Does anybody have anything immediately to ask me? before I continue my presentation. In her letter, Ms. Dardino offered to do the contact tracing for Groveland because it was clear that the present public health nurse was not comprehending the issue and lacked the knowledge, the relevant experience, and the skill set to perform the required work. The public health nurse, in her own words, is flying by the seat of her pants. In order to do that, Dardino needed the Board of Health to authorize access to the Department of Public Health's MAVEN network to collect data on and for Groveland. It's a very reasonable request. In the absence of information coming from Groveland, I'll do it for you.
That was requested by the superintendent also.
Okay.
Through
All right,
Diane.
I didn't speak to
believe-
any,
I
I didn't
believe,
speak to
right.
Dardino or the superintendent, it was just beyond my pay grade at that point. So tonight, I respectfully request, the only way to really get on top of this is for formally, I think the Board of Selectmen, if it hasn't already been done, to reach out to the superintendent, the West Newbury Board of Health, and specifically Diane Dardino, to accept a contact tracer assigned to Groveland. And in this meeting or some other meeting, set the terms of the expectations and the, for work and compensation. That is really the most expeditious and efficient thing you can do right now. Too much time too much water has gone under the bridge. The Board of Health, I would think, would want to reach out to Diane Dardino, if that hasn't already been done, and secure authorization for Dardino and the assigned tracer, if it isn't her, to access MAVEN for case tracing and data input.
And I'd just like to say that I talked to Diane Dardino today, and we emailed Scott Tropy, and it's all in place, and it's all set, and she has access to Groveland Maven.
Diane does.
Yes, she does.
Awesome.
Yep,
That's the first bridge.
correct.
I've got nothing more to say. No.
You just
I know,
do.
I always have something more to say, as you all know.
I was gonna say, there's no way you're ending it right there.
Yeah. She may need a second one, but now you know how to do that, or you've done it. You've talked to Tropy and everything's done. So she may request a second one. She may have a backup tracer that she may want to utilize in
We did
between
get,
this.
There's a resume, and you might have it already too.
From Ann?
Yes.
Yes, we have that.
On contact tracing.
Yep.
So,
So,
have Diane send me a copy of that.
okay, so, do you have more?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'll hold off.
The notion of contract tracing is really quite old. It's not it's new to language to people who have not done pandemics or have not done public health. But in the very work that a public health nurse does, we are an entity of the Department of Public Health in Boston. And we are expected to surveil and monitor approximately 90 diseases that are a risk to the public in general. Years and years ago, we did it all by hand in paper, which I know, Claire, you're still comfortable with paper, so am I. But younger kids that were coming into it with their little laptops and their spreadsheets and stuff like that say, why don't we just do this electronically? So it took them several years, but they managed to do it. It is an enormous proposition to get all of that detail for 90 diseases into work forms that are on a succinct website that public health nurses can offer. Then, if you don't type so well, that's your problem, and things along those lines. But it was beautifully done. And in about 2012, it became the major database for the Department of Public Health. So, for example, in a small town like Groveland, in a month, you might get 1 or 2 or 3, it's probably quieter now. Let's say a salmonella, a hepatitis, a TB case. You access that from a queue line that comes up to your username. You get the information that you have a piece of information that you have to work on. You push in your information, you come out with the data that you need in order to make contact with the individual. They are providing you with the demographics and the details that they have learned. It could have hospital information, et cetera. So what they're asking you to do is the actual casework. So you call the person, you make them comfortable, you discuss very personal information with them, and you reassure them that they're going to get better, et cetera, et cetera. But you also are responsible for thinking out of the box and saying, for example, the salmonella case might look isolated until you find out that the person was at a yard party with 50 people, and the potato salad tasted funny. So you might end up having 10 more cases in Groveland, 2 in Boxford, et cetera, et cetera. So you end up with small outbreaks that require contact tracing. Contact tracing is the next branch of just the first primary contact investigation. You may just be dealing one-on-one with an individual, but through the information you glean from your interview, you find out that there may be more to this than meets the eye. And you cannot wait for somebody to tell you to do that. You are expected to know how to do that. And so that's what contact tracing is all about.
Okay.
It isn't limited to COVID-19. It applies to many, many diseases.
Okay,
I don't know if that's helpful or not.
it is.
Okay. So it's not a new concept. It's something that you do normally in the course of your work, or at least always have in the back of your head. This might involve more than I think, all right? Even though one case has come in reported, the other people may not have caught up yet.
Right.
And one of the problems in the COVID-19 thing that's unique to it is that there are so many testing sites and laboratories involved in this. The old days, it would be you got a doctor's order, or you went to an emergency room and you got a culture doctor's order. And so everything was organized and very precisely sent through. Every laboratory in Massachusetts is required to report positive testing, and that includes the COVID labs. However, there's no real requirement to do it in 24 hours, 48 hours. So what's happening is Maven looks like it's having a lag time, and they are to a certain extent, because the person who has been tested is the person who gets the first information that they were positive.
Right.
And they're told either to call, their PCP or their work, or whoever needs to know that information. One or two of the cases that were mentioned was somebody knew somebody who was positive, but it didn't come up on the workload. As soon as you hear something like that, you don't need Maven to tell you to do something. You need to jump on that and immediately start your investigation. It will come eventually around, and you will have the identification numbers and stuff like that, but it doesn't preclude your responsibility or your right as an entity of the state to do that investigation and start in a timely fashion. You cannot wait for the data to come in one way. If it comes in another way, jump on it.
Well, you don't know if you're waiting 1 day or 5 days to get
Yeah.
that data.
And you want to be tactful in the way you inquire, too, because the
Right.
person may be incorrect. And you're asking a person, are they positive, and they are not. So it's all again, customer relations and understanding that. So the other thing about this whole thing is that I think the incident itself exposed several internal deficiencies and systemic weaknesses that need to be addressed ASAP. The Board of Health is adding, I believe, a member or two soon, if not, there you go,
I'll
there's
appoint
one.
someone tonight
There's
for-
one, and maybe possibly another in the
Yeah.
wind. And that will have you at full quorum, and that's excellent to be back at full quorum. And I would think that this would be a perfect time to do a critical incident debriefing or deconstruction of what happened, that this delay and this misunderstanding, and that we were not participating despite the requests that were coming in. And that I will extend to another, it's sort of linked, in that I'm not sure, but when I was working in the Board of Health, every formal request for my attention to something, or a request for information from me, or even just information that I needed to have, would come in a formal request, a business-like request to the Board of Health. And it would come into 183 Main Street to the attention of the administrative assistant. Whether it's an email, a phone call, or a letter, It was date and time stamped. And then immediately addressed, depending on the urgency of it, being that Lori, in this case, is a confidential secretary, and she knew in my case what I needed to know toot sweet, and what could wait over the weekend. And I always could rely on her for that. She was.
So she prioritized
She was
the things that were coming in.
outstanding in getting information to me. If I was on vacation, or if I was 2 states away, I got the information. And I was able to direct her or get the information I needed so that I could immediately interact. Lately, it seems that maybe texting is too informal and emails can be informal, and things fall through the cracks as a result of that. What seems to be an important issue maybe looks not so important. What could look like it's an actual request or an expectation could be misunderstood to not be that. So I strongly suggest that one of the things that you look at is the intake of information requests and just general business. You need a paper trail, so that there's none of this, I spoke to somebody at the coffee shop, I ran into so-and-so and they said this, and again, a lot of people know parts of the story, but nobody has the whole thing. That has to be avoided, especially in a situation like this, where it involved the Bagnall, I think you had mentioned to me, was initially not, contact tracing wasn't going to be a major event there. But what we talked about was a family could have a child in Bagnall, the middle school, and the high school.
Right.
You can't work in a silo like that. You have to think about, okay, I don't have to deal with the Bagnall, therefore I don't have to deal with contact tracing. It's not going to work that way. And in many of these cases, that's probably what has happened, where the younger one is okay, the middle one is okay, but the high school student is positive. So there's a number of reasons why you can't just isolate one school and say, I don't have to pay attention to that. So all of that becomes clearer when you have a formal request. And I think, in getting around and cleaning this up a little bit and reassuring the Pentucket system or the superintendent or the West Newbury nurses or whatever, keep the information open and flowing and ask them to please, if they have a concern or if they need additional help or additional information, formally request it. So, and get it into the Board of Health on its official business
There'd
line.
be a request to Lori
Yeah,
directly?
not my personal phone, your personal phone.
So when I talked to Diane today, I gave her Lori's email to make sure that
Good.
anything that needed to go should be sent to her, and Lori will disseminate to whoever needs to
Good.
have it.
Okay. Anything else, Anita?
And I learned that they were doing a pretty good job, I guess, at producing a weekly report, the West Newbury and
Yeah, they would,
Pentucket.
they'd have a report and they would also put it on their website.
Okay, well, I don't know much about the websites,
Yeah.
but,
Same information, just digital.
yeah, so, hopefully, if you contract with somebody, you would be entitled to that same information and be able to use that on your websites or to answer questions about the community.
So, I was gonna say, can we have access to so we can put things on a Board of Health website? We don't have anything.
I don't know who, I know Denise used to do that for you. Catherine, do you know who access to that? Can you do that? You can do it now? Here's your person.
All right, thank you.
We're solving problems here, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Anita, you got any more?
In closing, the efforts must focus on prompt participation in this, which I can see has already occurred. This will restore communication, effective action, and confidence going forward. There's no reason for us to be offending one another or being upset or being defensive. It was a legitimate problem and it needed to be fixed, and now it's fixed. Moving forward, I think there needs to be an internal review and revision of communication and responsibilities going forward. And I would, again, just say, for all of us, let us take a moment and acknowledge that the political climate and the pandemic and the fallout from both has us all a little tired and ragged, I think. Life as we know it has changed forever and very likely will be changed forever. These are hard times, and it would be helpful if we all remembered our humanity and creativity. Negative energy needs to be controlled. We are all in this together, and together we will succeed. I remain available in any way to help you going forward. And that's all I got. I will be glad to answer any questions, specific or otherwise.
Yeah, I'll go first. So, you're right. It needed to be addressed. That was the point. And now we're already on the right path, which is fantastic, right? You've already started that first bridge. We're gonna talk about the second piece. Thank you for that kind of recap and that discussion on how this works and how it's supposed to work and what the whole background is, because I know I didn't know anything about it, right? I'm not a health person. I don't
It's
even
hard to
go to
learn
the
it,
doctors,
yeah.
right? So, I needed to have that background on what's supposed to be happening and why it's important and how it does cross not only just middle school and high school, but the other elementary schools in the region. So I'm happy that that's being fixed, that we're gonna start getting that collaboration with the other towns. Everybody's on board to get this fixed. We're solving problems, we're solving communication problems and who's doing what. That's fantastic. We're gonna appoint someone else to the Board of Health. That's gonna get us a quorum, so we're gonna fix that. You're gonna be available if needed for background information. That's even better. So as difficult as it's been the last 3 or 4 weeks, this is the point that we're trying to get to, right? Solve a problem, let's fix it, find out what needs to be done, and then move on. As far as contracting out someone, I know Diane's our bridge for now, which is fantastic, but as far as contracting out maybe this Ann woman, I was under the impression that initially a contact tracer would need 5 to 10 hours a week to do that type of role that we have as far as numbers go. Is that a good explanation right now?
I'm not sure what their approach is going to be. I'm not sure if they want to look at all 58 cases and go back in time, and look at addresses and data points that.
Probably. They'll
they-
probably
they-
want to do that.
Yeah, so I think initially that it's probably gonna take that. It is estimated that one full-time contact tracer who's experienced takes between 20 and 30 minutes per interview. So you can do approximately 8 to 10 contacts in a day.
Okay.
Money-wise, or,
Yeah, money's a
what the
different- yeah.
compensation is, I don't know.
Yeah, the other problem that I foresee is now that we have this second or third wave that everyone's talking about happening, not happening, whatever it is, that those hours might not be enough going forward in December. So if we do request COVID funds to pay for this position and this contact tracing,
Contact tracing.
it's been a long week, it's only Monday. I would suggest that we do something around 20 hours if we're gonna request funds to pay for this, just in case we have that increase and those hours need to be there. If we don't use them, we can give it back, whatever it takes on that piece.
The other important thing is that if it continues to escalate, and it is escalating, we're so numb to it now, we don't, the death rate's up in Massachusetts, the cases per day are up. Nationally, they're up, everything is up. Schools in Massachusetts and some of them in other states were already, they just opened, now they're back down, closing again. I think one of the schools had an episode where the kids were misbehaving and they've gone to remote for 2 weeks till they're, so there's gonna be more of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the other thing is it may be such that the schools actually have to close down again if it gets that bad.
Exactly.
But you're still gonna have to do, your positivity will go up and you will still need to do contact tracing, albeit they may not be related necessarily to the school and an immediate opening or immediate learning issues in the school, but in terms of contagion and control in the community. So the person would certainly be useful for that. It's an extension of that.
Right.
So that would be excellent to have a person on board with that quality of time to work on what you could expect would be maybe, double the cases you've seen in a short period of time.
Right.
And
Okay.
a lot is to be said to the town, and I know, Claire, you've said it, and the Board of Health has certainly recognized it, that it sounds like 58 cases is a little lot, it's more than we certainly would want, but it's a lot lower than everybody else.
Right.
And I think we have a town that is really doing its very best. Sometimes the mask goes down below the nose, and sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, I think it's a smart community, and they're doing their very best to maintain the mitigation strategies and stay well. And I think it's really important to continue to reinforce that over and over and over, because it's really, really easy to just get used to it and slack off a little bit.
Even walking
We
around
just-
here, I
we're so
keep
used to it
forgetting.
now, it's just part of our lives to keep a mask in
Right.
our pocket, But the importance of it, now more than ever, over the holidays, is going to be, probably to the first of the year, is going to be really quite dramatic.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go around the horn here and see if anyone has any questions. Ed, we'll start with you.
No, I don't think I got any questions. It seems like we're on the right track and probably continue.
Jason?
I don't have any questions, but thank you very much. That was extremely detailed,
Nice to meet you.
informative. Yes, nice to meet you as
Good
well.
luck.
I'm gonna give you your cell phone number so you can call her anytime you want.
Anytime, Jason.
Perfect.
Bill?
I also wish to thank you, Ms. Wright. I think your information here is not only very informative, but very helpful in order for us to get to where we want to be, because I don't think we are right now. Quick question to Ms. Cater-Hull. With the emails to Lori, is that incoming, outgoing? And shouldn't you be copied on some of those emails just so that there are no surprises down the road?
She usually does.
Yes.
If she gets an email in, she'll send it. If it needs to go to Claire, it usually goes to both of us.
Okay, so I misunderstood.
Bonnie now too. They all get.
Okay, so I misunderstood that point. That's good this
So
way.
she time and date stamps it and gives the copies to the appropriate people, and stamps them confidential if they have to be stamped confidential, and there is a paper trail, or there was a paper trail. I don't know how it is now.
Yeah, and I think you've hit on the key word. It's communication. If everybody knows and everybody's in the loop, then the chances that we drop a ball on the goal line are very, very slim. And at this point, going into the winter, everybody's heading indoors. The climate is not good for outdoors. We all see what's going on. And I think at this point, it's all incumbent upon us to do whatever we can and throw the kitchen sink at this thing if we absolutely have to, and find every possible resource we need to fight this and to keep the town and the community safe, because as Ms. Wright so eloquently pointed out, we're not in this alone, because we do have a regional school. And what affects Groveland may, in fact, affect Merrimack and West Newbury. And we have a responsibility not only to our town and our residents, but also to theirs as well. And I think that's a very good point you made, very eloquently, and thank you for that.
What's that?
Yeah.
Kathy, anything?
Yes, I do have a few things to say. First of all, there's a very famous movie where they say, I think what we have here is a failure to communicate.
Cool Hand Luke.
Okay? And I felt exactly that way at that meeting
I
you
know.
referred to, because I had seen none of the documentation that was being presented. And I've never, in all the years I've served on the Board of Selectmen, including this term and years ago when I did it before, I've never been at a meeting where I didn't have the information that was going to be discussed. And I found that personally really difficult, because I'm trying to process and understand. And as you say, this is a pandemic. Those of us that have gone back to work in the schools, we know what we're up against. It's a big fight, and it's extremely stressful. And, it's very difficult to hear things coming from all different directions at the same time and then say, what's going on here? And the last thing I think that anybody needs to do in this current climate is criticize. It's just not the time. Go back over things, regroup, relook at things, find a better way. But pointing out what's gone wrong and what is a problem doesn't help solve the problem, because the problem that we have is so overwhelming.
Right.
I mean, no end in sight, and it's every day, trying to keep the schools open, trying to keep the families safe. So the question I do have, though, and this is the part that, I'm a little statistics geek here, so I've been tracking these rates since the beginning. Don't ask me why. Sometimes my husband will say, what are you doing now? Like, just copying the new stats.
Can't you just read the comics?
I know, I tried to, but the stats just get to me so much. I'm a little statistics geek. So, I mean, yes, we have some things that have gone up, but when I look back to where we were in May, we're nowhere near that, and I'm grateful for that.
Right.
Thank heavens.
Right.
I know in my school, and I'm sure in Pentucket, the precautions that we're taking are extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary.
Right.
And I'm grateful for it, and I'm thinking that perhaps this could work, I don't know. But when we started this whole pandemic, and as things closed down, the state then made this enormous announcement, and this is my curiosity, I don't know if you would know anything about it, that the COVID tracing has launched in Massachusetts, April 18th, 2020. We're hiring 1,000 people to do the tracing for you. I don't think I've ever seen or heard anything of the tracing they did for us. Are you suggesting that they never did any tracing for us?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
They hire, don't forget, the tracers are used in, again, they're estimated, I think that was probably based on 3.5, 4 million people would be 1,000 tracers. And I believe they backed down to 400 from there. But a lot of the tracers are used in institutions that have huge volume cases.
Correct.
And that's where the majority of the help has been distributed. A small place like this is likely not going to get.
So again, we had another failure to communicate from the state telling us that they were doing the tracing when, in fact, they were not. So you're saying that our 54 cases up till now, you feel there's probably been no
Oh,
tracing?
that's needs to be done here. That's the public health nurse's job here.
Not according to the state documents that came out initially. They told us they would do the tracing. In fact,
Yeah.
Superintendent Bartholomew informed me, and I didn't know this either, that Merrimack and West Newbury had opted out of the state tracing program.
They do offer it,
But
yeah.
Groveland did not opt out because nobody told us that we needed to opt out. So again, communication, I like what you've said about how things should work going forward. I really think that's great. I think Deb has put extraordinary amount of hours in, I know that Claire has as well. Anything you can offer to help us, is greatly appreciated. But I think communication right now is key. It has
It's
to be.
fluid,
It has to be everybody getting informed so that we're all on the same page at the same time. Otherwise, it's just a mess.
When it all first came out, wear masks, don't wear masks. One of the reasons that they said, don't wear the mask, or they were like hedging on that, is because we didn't have enough PPE for the healthcare workers. That's the honest to God's truth. So the risk to the public is stay home, stay based at home, don't be wandering around the streets. You don't need a mask for staying at home. Because we had no supplies for the people that were up to their necks in COVID.
Right.
So once that caught up and masks became available and the backup decreased and these little bluey jobs became available at Ocean State and everything else,
Yeah.
then they came out and said, you know what, it's probably sensible to do this. If you're positive, at least you're protecting the other guy,
Correct.
right? They're less effective the other way. That's where the N95s come in, because those viruses pass through these masks pretty efficiently. So there's a lot of fluidity. You heard one is don't wear the mask, 2 weeks later they're saying wear the mask, kind of thing. That's what you have to expect that in the very beginning, until they find the right composition to work. I don't know what communications were sent from the state to the boards of health, because I don't have access to that stuff anymore. But I know when Ebola was around, I was offered a contact tracer for Ebola. We had one case that needed to be tracked. And none of you ever knew about it, never said a word, right?
Yeah.
And it was never an issue.
Somebody must have done a great job then.
But the thing is, I want to say, I saw your reaction to that, to the letter. I think Diane lost her cool. I think that's all it was. I think it was probably stern and difficult, but it's not untrue. She was
I'm not,
upset.
Anita, I'm not disputing facts right now. I'm
But
just saying,
I know-
communication-wise, this whole thing, the school set up these task groups, and then they said, well, the high school's full, and they sent our
Yeah.
Selectmen Wood to the Bagnell, and all of these reopening plans were unfolding, but nowhere in the communication did I ever see something about, and it makes sense now that I see it, By the way, the school's gonna really need to know pretty darn quick.
Right.
How many students came in contact with this student? I mean, right now, I look at this fact and I go,
Wow.
well, duh, yes, I get it. I work in a school. I understand how important it is for them to know how many people have crossed paths. But back when we were all sitting in, and we were sitting in weekly meetings, and
Yes.
these guys, I don't know how many hours they've put in, no one told us about this part of the plan. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that part, just when, I remember the announcement of Diane's position, and again, nobody came and sat down and communicated with us how quickly they would need that information, because certainly if I had heard that, I would have jumped all over, as with Deb, I mean, we all would have just said, whoa, yes. So the only other concern I have, because I don't want to tie you up for this long, from what I've read and what I've been told, the additional funding for this really important task ends in barely 2 months. You're laughing, I know, you gotta smile and laugh as you say, because otherwise you'll cry. I mean, do we really believe that we're not going to need this funding after December 30th?
I think they may extend it, just because they originally.
They have to extend
extended it.
Well, yes,
It
but,
was ending, what, August 31st, I think, originally, and then they extended it to
Right.
December 30th.
Right.
but should we get a little proactive here and perhaps get in touch with somebody and make sure that, you know, as we're bringing in more people to help us do this?
See how the election goes.
So what I would,
Okay.
what I would say is, a couple of things. In order, go ahead.
I just don't wanna say, I was not here last week, because I was in Florida.
Right.
So, I couldn't listen
No,
in
that's
and
fine.
everything. But anyway, I would have appreciated, if we're gonna communicate, if you get something like this again, you need to email it to me
Mhm.
or to Lori so that we know, so it's just not, you know, blindsided by it,
Well, because I was blindsided by several people
so.
to get to this point. So I
Right,
would
you didn't
argue,
tell me that, so
I would
it's-
argue that in order to
Communication,
fix a
folks.
problem, you have to first acknowledge that there is a problem.
Right,
Exactly.
So going forward, as we do these bi-weekly meetings, what kind of information regarding this contact tracing can we expect to be displayed to us or conveyed to us?
That's what you need to establish with Diane. One, the larger question is if one case comes in and has nothing to do with the school, and Claire calls and does her interview, are they also gonna look at the same thing? Are you gonna have redundancy, or I don't want anything to fall through the cracks. When the cases come in on Maven that are identified as COVID-positive tests, is that person doing the whole ball of wax? And then you should be getting a report on how many cases came in and what the determination was with respect to the school. There should be some direct communication to the Board of Health regarding that, so it doesn't fall through the cracks again. In the interim, if you've got somebody that's doing exclusive COVID work, then the other 91 of the, well, there's listeria in the state now, so listeriosis, I don't know if it's gonna affect us or not, but that's a hot one, I like that one.
So is that something that can be determined in the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks, how that's gonna?
Oh, yeah, she should be able to do that in a phone call.
Okay, because that'll be good to understand what that's gonna look like and what we can expect to see
Be fun.
going forward as we go through this fixing thing.
Right. So all the data that they're getting, accessing, and then entering into the Maven system regarding that, so that you can at least formulate your report, how many cases there are, how many are on quarantine, how many are in isolation, et cetera, the details of that are pertinent and germane to your documentation system is coming to you. Because they're just gonna be on the computer constantly putting this data in. What instructions are they giving to people? Who's gonna do the instructions? Are they assuming that Claire's gonna do it, or are they doing it? So now they're representing Groveland, you have a right to have an expectation for what you are gonna get for that.
So your next step is now going to include this Ann Rundle, is that correct? Is that what we're,
well, is that who, that's the only
unless you have somebody else?
thing I have so far.
Okay,
One.
so you need us to vote to,
The one she sent.
you need us to vote to appoint her to that position? Or is the Board of Health going to do that? How is this gonna work?
Board of Health appoints if they have a board.
We
That's,
should appoint, but we need to bring Bonnie in.
That's gonna be my next thing. I'm sorry I'm keeping you so long.
That's fine.
So-
You're not caught up to date.
She needs
So-
to get away from the 3 kids and husband, trust me.
So is that what I wanna make sure that that's clear too, that our next steps is going to take, you're gonna take that responsibility and then you're going to request COVID funds, or we're going to request the COVID funds?
well, we have to
I thought
request the
you requested
COVID fund.
COVID funds already, because
We
last,
have.
2 weeks ago, or.
Yes.
I think Alan is working on part of that,
He
but there was
has.
another thing that came up over the last couple of days with the school that she had to go back in and readjust her numbers in her request. So
Here's-
that might be what's holding it up, but I wanna make sure that we know who's supposed to be doing what, so we don't leave here and everyone goes, I don't know. Because I wanna keep this going, right? This is good. This is, as tough as it's been, this has been really good.
Excellent.
All right, so I appreciate everybody who's here, all their help, all their input. It's been really good to get this fixed, but I wanna make sure that we keep this going.
Okay, so, like I said, I was on vacation last week, and when
Yep.
I was talking to Lori, and she sent the email to Ellen, I believe, because she wanted the stuff so we could advertise for the, contact tracer. It was a public health nurse.
I don't think it came through me, but it might have gone right to Al.
Yeah, well, I think it went to Ellen, but then they had to know, like, and you said 20 hours, they were gonna figure out from that.
Based on what I know, I suggested 5 to 10.
I'm not sure we're gonna have that
Yeah,
much,
well, I think there's some in the closet. I don't know how much is there, but I thought 5 to 10 initially is what we would expect, but if we're gonna request funds, we should do 20, because this is gonna get worse and they're gonna need more hours.
Right.
Right, and then we have no clue on what the pay, I mean, I looked it up and pay scales, are between 22 and 25. I mean, they can be more. but
Really? That seems low.
For a contact tracer,
As
yeah.
high as 35, I've seen.
35? So, I mean, we gotta put in a number, we gotta put it in high, because we don't wanna be short, right?
Well,
So,
surely Diane probably has a recommendation, or, what the going rate is that they're looking at. You don't want to overpay somebody.
So do you-
Right.
so do you wanna get with Diane? Figure out what the rate is and I'll get with Ellen tomorrow, cause I gotta go over there anyways, and then I'll figure out if she's got that information inputted into the response for COVID funds?
They told us they had to do it by last week on October 15th, so my.
That was for submission of the funds for the last 30 days, I think. Not that that
Right.
was the last
She
cutoff
sent me an-
for requesting new stuff. It was for the last reimbursement round.
Right.
Oh, that was not what I understood it to be, so, okay.
She sent me a draft
Okay.
that had
So if
just-
you want to do that, I will talk to Ellen about those tomorrow. I'll take that, and then we can meet in the
Well,
middle.
I'll email Diane about,
The email, call, or whatever we need to do. And then we'll make sure that request gets in by Wednesday at the latest, I think. Is that fair? I don't know, I'm asking. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Anita's giving me direction, but I'm asking Deb. Anita will tell me where to go, and even if I don't ask her, but is that fair? Is that all right with you, Deb?
yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
all right, so I got stuff to do
And if you
tomorrow.
actually get 20 hours a week, is that what you're asking?
That's what I should,
20
I
hours
mean,
a
I'll
week?
do whatever you want, but that's my
The other
suggestion.
option, Claire, is for you to, if she's got free time, you could pick her brain till it pops, ooh, excuse me. Till you can just ask a lot of questions, how do I start this? How does it work, or whatever it is you need to get to get an understanding and to get skills in that. If she's got free time, you can just shadow her and watch her do a case and listen to her how she does it. Look at the sheet, the questions that are asked and how it flows, and, get some training out of it. That's also possible,
Okay,
that's
so
good use of her time.
let's not keep Bonnie longer than she needs to
know.
stay here, so,
I just,
yeah, go ahead.
Just having too much
couple
fun.
of follow-ups that just came to my mind. It's a possibility we could have a student at Bagnell, at the middle school, and at the high school simultaneously, correct?
Sure, it's entirely possible.
Would it also be possible you have a student at Bagnell, at the middle school, and at either Essex Aggie or Whittier Tech?
Yes.
And
Yes.
how do we how is that being followed, or is that a part of the same?
That's
project? I
part
don't
of
wanna
the
get-
interview. You find out where the kids go to school. And I will tell you, during the H1N1, we ran into problems. While it was very different than the COVID-19, because we had a virus, we had a vaccine. But they never considered homeschooling and the charter schools in the vaccine acceptance and administration. So I had parents calling me in a panic because their kids weren't eligible for a vaccination, because they weren't included in the big, the name of the school. So that was just an oversight, so that just fell through the cracks. So that's another thing, who's doing home teaching, how are we tracking that? So that's what you wanna understand, are there other kids coming into the house as part of play dates with
Right.
homeschooling, et cetera?
So we're gonna
So
capture all that as well?
you should be able to capture it all with the interview,
Well, we
with
have
the tracing.
remote students as well, and we have students that are going
Did you
in
want to?
and out of
You're talking
remote,
about an action plan,
Just keep
formulate
that
an
in
action
mind.
plan?
which I didn't expect.
Formulate it now so
Making a
everybody
mess
knows
of my
before
Yeah,
we leave this room.
it is tough,
exactly.
and the private schools,
So they can opt.
All I know is I'm talking to
They
Ellen.
call them
That's as far as I got.
Yeah, I
Wildcat
just,
Outside
don't wanna
Academy
leave
or
and come
something.
back
I'm
to
Right,
like, what
right.
is this?
right.
I didn't know I was
Full
responsible
remote.
for that.
Yeah, so we have full remote, hybrid,
So, Deb,
and.
what else do you need from us?
We just wanna make sure we
Besides
have,
appointing Bonnie, which I swear I'm gonna get to.
He's lying.
we just wanna make sure that when we leave this room tonight, in 2 weeks, we don't come back and say, I didn't know it was my responsibility to do this or that. So what I suggested to Mike is, do we have an action plan that we want to put down in words so that everybody understands what their responsibility is when they leave this room? So in 2 weeks, we've got all the boxes checked and everything is fine.
All I know is I'm talking to Ellen tomorrow, because I gotta go over there
And
anyways.
I'll have to email Diane tonight or call her tonight.
Okay.
because I'm working the next 3 days and
Sure.
And then over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna have some kind of report or analysis of something of what we can expect over the next meetings going forward, as long as we're in
The
this
system is.
situation.
So, Mike, I thought I copied you on it, but, because Ellen sent me the draft of the spreadsheet that's going in.
Maybe?
Yes, so, I responded
Probably
back
get
to her
800
that,
emails.
because she had just for Board of Health, she had just the health nurse and the contact tracing wages. And I asked about Lori, doesn't Lori?
Laura's supposed to be getting additional hours and so is.
Right, so I think
and
that's
we
missing
pay
if
Joe,
you.
too. Joe has additional
Oh, and
hours.
Joe, okay, so he's not specifically listed on that line, so I don't know. Whereas election expenses are really
Where's
high.
Joe's pay come from?
Well,
The salary line item?
He has a salary, but then
right, he's
we
got a salary,
bumped
but then
his,
he's also been approved for extra COVID hours.
When was that requested, or had it been
That
requested?
that was requested
March.
quite some time ago.
But so that's already on there, right? He's already getting paid those extra hours
No.
from COVID?
Yes, he gets paid out of COVID.
I know, but I think what happened was they initially had their own grant, right?
Right,
remember-
we had our initial grant.
They had their own grant, so they were separate, and now they don't have that.
Now
So
it's coming from the.
now
CARES Act.
Ellen's bringing them all in here. That's why I'm worried about missing pieces.
So, are you able to tell me what that additional pay for Lori and Joe was and needs to be put into this other request?
No, I'd have to see what, I'd have to look back at their timesheets. Timesheets just went in.
The guess, anything?
I don't have the timesheets, no. I know Claire's got,
I have 6.
hers is 6 hours.
Would
so hers-
Caitlin have the timesheets?
Pardon?
Caitlin, would she have the timesheets? You have the timesheet? No, but is Joe on there? Joe's not on there.
Do you have them?
I think Ellen has a sheet to date, Mike, of.
I'll ask her. I'll take
yeah,
that, I'll ask
She
her.
has like a sheet to date, and then she has, this is a sheet of what else we
I
need.
don't have them. Claire has a definite 6
Yeah.
hours extra every week.
Hmm.
Joe, it depends on if he's, done with his regular hours, anything over his regular hours gets to be COVID hours.
Right.
Lori is her regular hours, but she's been getting slammed now with everything,
I
so.
wanna say she got 6 too, but I don't know.
Pardon?
I wanna say she got 6 hours extra.
No, there was never any specific amount.
There wasn't.
She's there and she's works excess and, anyway.
All right, so we don't know what Joe and Lori have, so I need to ask that too.
Trash thing now.
All right, I got it.
Well, yeah, that too. And she's working with trash too, in addition to all the COVID stuff going on.
But the trash we budgeted for.
I got it.
Unless
Right.
there's COVID trash.
Anything else?
Please
You
say,
never know, it
please
gives her an
say.
extra 6, and then if she uses it, she uses it, if not, she not, that'd be fine.
Okay.
That
Both,
is-
6? Joe and Lori, 6?
I don't think Joe can have an extra 6 because he's interim and he's also has retirement, so he can only work so many hours.
Okay,
With the
that's right.
COVID, that's waived, I
Yeah,
thought.
I believe it.
Yeah, it was 900 hours a year, but that got waived.
But it's been waived
Yeah.
with the COVID
Work
emergency.
away.
I'll ask. All right, so I got a couple things for Ellen on my plate. Anything else? Besides getting Bonnie out of here, is there anything else?
Honey's
I'm
having
trying, I'm getting there. No?
That
All right.
should be-
Well,
do we have to interview this lady, or are we just gonna go ahead and write ahead and?
that's on you guys. Whatever you guys need to do.
Well,
can
because
find
I don't
someone
know when
better.
we're gonna be able to meet to do it, so do we just wanna?
Well, we gotta vote Bonnie in first.
Say
then.
again?
You
I'm
can't
happy
vote.
to interview if you want me to, or if you want,
So-
whatever you wanna do.
Let's get her in,
Okay.
And then you can decide
and then
once
you
you get a
guys
quorum.
decide, because you guys will have a quorum, you gotta post a meeting and minutes and all that stuff.
Right,
So the sooner the better. I mean, Diane is gonna be that bridge, but she's not gonna do it forever, so
right.
if we can get somebody else in place to take that on from her in the next couple of weeks, that would be ideal.
Okay.
All right, so, can we get to Bonnie now? Everybody
Yes,
good?
Let's do it, ready.
Everybody good?
Yep.
All right. So, we're gonna move to the appointment of Bonnie Murray to the Board of Health effective October 26, 2020, until the next annual election. Somebody wanna make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we appoint Bonnie Murray to the Board of Health until the next annual election, effective October 26th, 2020.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. I will say thank you, Bonnie, for stepping in. We're gonna need some help, and you are going to, Deb, maybe have somebody else to fill that third slot?
Possibly Lori's trying to talk to somebody who initially,
Thanks, Anita.
was on the write-in elections before our other person
Okay.
resigned. So we wanna try to get somebody who has experience in, septic and.
Septic.
Yep.
maybe could be-
Title V, yeah, and all that stuff, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, we're working well with it, but it would be nice to have somebody else who's a little bit.
right, okay. Any further discussion on Bonnie? Yeah.
Yeah, quick question for Ms. Murray. Testing leads to cases, do you believe that?
Well, it depends on, I guess,
He's being political on you.
I know,
The mammograms lead to breast cancer. Make it simple.
no.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
Any other questions for Bonnie?
If you have too many, yes, they do.
I'll try to cut back.
No further discussion? All those in favor?
Yep.
That's it? Sorry you had to
Wow,
wait
that
so
was
long.
super easy.
Yeah.
Jesse gets sworn in.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm currently on furlough, not working, so
She
I'm
can just go down and
available
get
to
sworn
help.
in.
I know you guys have more time than.
Bonnie, you do need to get sworn in at the town clerk at your earliest convenience.
I'll send you the papers and information. Okay.
Thank
So,
you very
whatever
much.
you need, I'm just here
So
to
does she
help.
have to call to see Beth because?
Probably.
Well, probably because of elections and all that stuff is going on.
So
Okay, I'll
give
give her a
Beth
call
call to
tomorrow
see
morning.
And COVID, I mean, the doors are still locked, so you won't be able to get in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But I'll
they're
send it
open
to
now
you.
for.
For the early election, for early
Okay.
voting.
Yeah, but Beth is swamped with that, so if she can make an appointment to do that,
Oh, yeah, she can.
that should only be like 2 minutes. It should take
Yeah.
easy.
I think you have to do
Just
some
gonna send me your
paperwork.
email, so.
Once she
we'll
finds
get
the
that
book and you sign.
done. Help you out whatever you need.
All right, thank you, Bonnie.
All right, thank you. Sorry we kept you so long.
Best
So I had
Bonnie,
the kids
thank
in
you.
your decks.
So I think we're good with COVID discussion.
Oh, my goodness.
Ellen sent you a text about, COVID, as far as, paying people for different types of jobs.
She did?
Well, I forwarded it to you, so I guess technically I sent it, but.
They're related to COVID, they have to be able to prove that as well. We can't pay people to do this, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll talk to her tomorrow.
Okay.
And
Well, we're still
then,
doing Board of Health things. Do we do the resignation of him or not yet?
Oh,
um,
I'm-
I have, you know what? Yeah, let's do that,
You can move
Is it
to-
on the?
because then we have some other stuff. So
Oh, it is
under
there. Yeah.
correspondence, we're gonna do resignation letter from Michael Mahar of the Board of Health effective 10/13/2020.
Yeah.
We get a motion on that?
Motion to accept the resignation letter of Michael Mahar of the Board of Health effective October 13, 2020.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? You guys are free to go.
Good.
Thank you so much. This was this was clearing up, so this is what we needed. And then if you need anything else from me, let me know, otherwise I will get this information tomorrow and then send you an email or a call or a letter, or all three.
Likewise, any way it can be helpful in any way.
And typically, Lori, even when I'm at work, Lori will send me emails, and I check them during my breaks, during my lunch, you know, and she knows she can get to me. If it's really important, she'll give me a phone call, and I get back to her, so.
She's very diligent.
All right, thank you. We have one other appointment that I missed over, the appointment of Kevin Pecos of Easton, Mass. To the contracted position of interim finance director. Somebody want to make a motion to appoint Kevin?
I move that we appoint Kevin Pecos of Easton, Massachusetts to be contracted for the position of interim finance director according to the stipulations of the contract agreement or employment agreement.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will say that Kevin will be in tomorrow for a couple hours anyways,
Most of the day.
most of the day. I know he wanted to get set up and meet some people and get everything organized so he can start next week.
Yes.
So he wants to meet with everyone one-on-one. I'm sure he'll email you guys at some point.
Awesome.
But I'm meeting with him tomorrow at some point around noon, and then we'll go from there. So, all those in favor?
Yep.
Fantastic.
I had one follow-up question just on when we spoke about what Kevin will be doing. And I know he's overseeing everything on the finance director, but I feel like Ellen is doing a phenomenal job on this coordination of all these supplies and things for the COVID. And I would think he would want her to stay on top of that, just because she has access to all these details.
I don't know that she wants to do it, but that'd be up for a discussion between her and Kevin.
Yes, because I mean, she's doing an amazing job on it.
Right, but she also has a bunch of other stuff to do.
I know, but we
So-
gave her more hours. It's just
Right,
that-
but we're gonna have to have that conversation of who's taking what.
Right.
What responsibility out of that office, and then what funds go along with that. So that's
Right.
gonna be going on in November.
Because she's the first one that's kind of explained it to me in a way that makes sense between the CARES Act and the FEMA. And I find it really interesting, and I like the way she tracks it because it's very transparent and very easy to follow.
All right.
Yeah, I just caution that if the trend continues the way we're seeing it,
Yeah.
that this might become, might add more to her plate as it becomes exponentially more,
As it grows, yeah.
grows, you know,
Right.
to
But,
throw it on her, because this is going to become more and more and more of a job, I think, as the colder, we get into the colder months in the flu season, so
I
I'm just
agree, but
worried that
I also.
we overwhelm her and then overwork her.
Well, I also pointed out that at one point, maybe you'd want to hire someone specifically for this or outsource it if you feel that need, but at least for now, she's got such a good spreadsheet going on it that
Yes, the
it's
spreadsheets are.
really nice. And I want to point out, you were right about the color coding in the 100,000. I just went back to my old spreadsheet, and it does say that.
Positive cases per 100,000 in population.
It's,
All right, we're gonna move on to land donation.
if you ever want a copy
Mike, is that
of
with
it,
you?
I've got this since,
Great.
No.
tracked since May.
Once I read some of my
Come on up, Mike.
pretty much retain
Yeah.
it,
It's interesting.
terrible.
So you're gonna talk to us about that land donation thing that we have to sign for the papers on Wood Street. I know we've been waiting a couple weeks for, was it a different, additional information from KP Law and,
I think it's titled, right?
I
The
thought we
title?
signed that already. Yeah, we signed it. That's what I mean, we signed it.
what are we waiting for, Mike?
Well, it was that form,
Right.
I thought I saw an email come across with some other thing that
I
came.
remember signing all that for you. For the 7 acres, right?
yeah, this form just needs to be signed by you, Mike, and notarized for the acceptance of the deed.
Yeah,
And then that needs to go to town council. And then they have a letter that they will get brought to the registry that works it all out.
All right, so the only thing we have to do with that is I have to put my John Hancock on that,
Yeah,
and
and get
then,
it notarized. Signature needs to be notarized.
does Beth notarize it? Who notarized it? I'm not taking it, right? Who's taking it to get notarized?
I think either Beth or Ellen are notary publics.
Isn't Denise a notary?
She's only here on Fridays.
Kevin is.
Huh?
I'm sure Kevin is.
I mean, Jeff's a notary, but I don't know if he can do it.
Anyone can.
Anyone? All right, so that's not on me, that's on you or somebody else to get it
No,
notarized.
no, you,
You have to be notarized.
I have to get it notarized?
Well, yeah, when you sign it. that's
because
what
when
it
you
is.
sign it, they have to watch you sign
To
it.
what you sign.
All right,
Hey, great to be the chair.
can you bring that? Yeah, I'll take that too. You know, someone told me I had a full-time job at one point, huh?
Can we get to,
No, I'll take it.
Do it now, you got two.
This is the backup of what town council asked to do with this paperwork when it's done.
All right. All right.
So once you do that, you give that back to Catherine, then it gets sent over to town council, and they're gonna write another letter and take it to the registry and charge us all that money.
All right, so if I can't find anyone in town hall tomorrow, I'll grab Jeff and make him come outside and do it for me.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, I'm adding to my tasks. Anything else on the land? Does that, everything else be good once this is done?
Yes,
All right, so that's it for that, right?
yes.
Okay. Are you part of the conditions for additional fill for Sewell Street Development Permit?
Yes.
How did I know? All right, what am I doing with that? Who do I have to go to and what am I signing?
Well, we talked about this before.
Yep.
And you had me come up with a list of recommended requirements for
Yes. Yep, I remember that.
additional fill approval at Sewell Street. So I put this together. I took out everything that was going to be addressed by the zoning board of appeals under their permit. But this permit, these recommendations specifically speak to the fill only, nothing to do with the building of the
Right.
40B project. So I believe that the selectmen can issue a permit with these conditions to the applicant. Now, I'm not sure that everybody thinks that same way, though. So I don't know if, when they applied to put the original amount of fill in there, that we actually issued a permit to them, or did we only issue a set of requirements to DEP, and then they got a DEP permit?
That
So
sounds like it's pretty important to figure that out.
yeah, and also, if we look back in history, I know Selectman Castronellis was on the board back in 2000, when we did indeed issue a permit
Yes.
to the forerunner of aggregate industries
Yeah.
to fill the
So you think
quarry.
they assumed that permit going forward?
Well-
Was there an expiration on that permit? Does anybody know?
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
Not sure, but, you know, they referenced
shut
that
down.
in their documentation. DEP referenced that document in their documentation for their permit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I feel like your board should issue a permit and let the chips fall where they may. If for some reason the applicant doesn't think
I don't
that
know if that.
they need a
I like the
permit,
sound of
then they
that.
can come back and argue with you.
Yeah, because that's what I want, is to have another meeting about someone arguing about something I'm not allowed
Yeah,
to do.
well, yes, I know, right?
So your recommendation is for us to issue a permit based on those criteria you have in front of you
Sure,
as an issuance of continuing to doing business in landfill and at Sewell Street. Is that what you're asking?
yes,
And you think that that is within our purview to be able to do that?
I believe it is by prior precedence.
Right.
Yeah.
All right,
have
so
before.
Ed, what do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I got a couple questions
Sure.
from Mike on the permit requirements. Mike, the additional $75,000 performance bond for the town's protection, I know we had asked for, just refresh my memory on what that was for.
That's in case they either don't complete the work or they don't do it if they don't meet the other conditions, something breaks down, then it's a performance bond, so it basically it's not a fine of any sort, so it just gives you the ability to fix anything that's left undone.
Is that enough?
Well, they also have, supposedly, they also have another $75,000 on the original fill that was brought in.
Correct.
And, thank you. And the second question here, number 4.
Yep.
The applicant they will not bring any additional fill or soil other than that already approved in the original application onto the site until the court case by the applicant against Mass DEP regarding the nature of the nearby stream has been decided. Any idea, that has to do with the additional, what is it, 200,000?
Yes,
So he can't bring in anything onto that other site until that court case has been decided.
yes.
Has there been any update on that, any idea when that will take place?
Supposedly, they're in negotiations with DEP, and they have until early December, I think, December 8th or something like that, to come to some decision between DEP and the applicant, or then it will go to the judge to make a decision. So it hasn't been decided yet, though.
That's not, so that won't be until spring, probably,
Probably,
at
yeah.
least. The other question I have is, I don't see anything in here where he can be fined for not following these permits. Would it be just a revocation of his permit if he didn't follow
Yes.
these guidelines?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I got for now, I think.
Jason?
Does he have an active application for a permit?
Well, I think he did, we never heard back from DEP, right, Kathy, that, all they said was they couldn't include our conditions in their permit.
Well, they asked us, they came to us and they said that they had a letter on record from the first stage of the fill, and they said, we noticed that he now wants to fill a new parcel. Would you want to have another such letter? He also explained that the state law allows them to fill the quarry. So we can't, that's what, but in this town, we've always given permits, like, I guess I would ask, because I wasn't on the board, were you on the board when they were removing the soil at the Pines and clearing that hill at all?
I think near the tail end of that project I was
Was there
on.
a permit issued for the removal?
I think there was.
Right, so I feel like we've always given these permits, and it's through the Board of Selectmen. When they tried to fill this quarry the first time, we definitely had a permit, we had our Conservation Commission on site, and we had a person on site that was checking the loads, and that's why it kind of fell apart, because it was sort of a disaster.
Yeah, but it sounds like they're still filling under that same permit.
No, this is a
They're
different.
filling one area under that same permit. There's a new lot that they're trying to fill, which is where she's coming from, of the conditions that we can put on that new filling location, right?
Right, I mean, I don't think that whatever happened way back in 2000, that was shut down. The Conservation Commission, I think it was Dornikowski, found, there was evidence that the soil was not good, it was bad, and it was not even placed in the right places, and I remember going to a site walk, and that was the end of that endeavor. The town was able to say, stop. In this endeavor, this,
Because
yeah.
you said that same permit was being brought up in that DEP was gonna add to it based on,
Well, DEP monitors what's being brought to this site. That, based on the state law. They have the tests being done by a selected, independent person, and that gets posted on the site. But we don't see that unless we go to this site, which I did do, and look through it all. This, if this were accepted, he said that he was open to the town having some conditions. This would enable us to have information coming to us,
all right, so,
from what Mike's written here. The person, the
Right.
consulting chemist would give us, and the issue about the wells being tested for a longer period of time. The test wells are there, but I think the state law is only gonna have them tested while it's in process. And after that,
right, so DEP has come to us and asked us if we wanted more stipulations.
they said we
Yes.
could
So,
offer
so
some.
it's not a matter of us issuing a permit, because he hasn't applied through us for a permit. So, because we can't issue him a permit if he hasn't applied for one, I wouldn't think.
I think we should,
No, I think you're mixing terms.
yeah.
Mike isn't saying, Mike said permit, but I don't think he means permit, he means a condition letter.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Does that
Well,
help?
makes sense.
So Mike wants to know if we want to issue a condition letter for them to go fill that new lot. All set with questions right now?
Yep.
Bill?
I don't want to fill the last lot.
Well, too late.
Well, I know.
Kathy, anything else?
Just, you have the 10 conditions here, right?
Yes.
All right, but then, is this the second page, or do I have something out of order? Because it goes 1 and 2 here.
No, it's just, the front is my letter, and then the back was
I
the
don't know.
conditions.
Wait a minute. Oh, I get it. No, never mind. I do have it up. Yep. Okay, so you have the letter. But these are the conditions.
Yes.
Okay. So I have an October 7th letter.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, and this October 2nd one is the zoning board of appeals. That's
Yeah, that
different.
was,
That's a
right.
separate thing.
right.
Okay, I got that.
Copied
Thank
you
you.
folks on that.
Yeah, okay. I think these look reasonable. I mean, it's in line with trying to protect our wells. I mean, you can't test down at the well site because you can never know where it all came from. But if they keep those test wells being checked, we'll know if there's anything in that fill that's getting down into our water supply.
Yeah, I think
That makes sense.
it makes a lot of sense.
Right, if for some reason, all of a sudden, a certain chemical shows up in our water, in our town water, then we need to go back and look at those wells and see, did it come from there? And it actually protects the applicant, because if it didn't come from his site, he can prove that it didn't come from his
Correct.
site.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he would be against this, frankly, but,
I think he actually spoke about that you can't test down at our well site and blame him because there's Chesterton and all these businesses and homes in between.
right,
So,
and this would
yeah.
help.
I think so.
So what do you need us to do?
Well, I guess,
Type that up, put it on letterhead and sign it and send it? Is
yeah,
that-
issue it to him. Again, we don't even know if DEP has issued a permit for him or not. Have we ever seen it, Kathy? I
mean,
never
Well,
have.
the conditions, from what Mr. Fitzgerald from the DEP explained to me, and he was pretty detailed, is that the state allows a quarry to be filled, and these are the conditions. And we can't supersede those conditions, but we can ask for other conditions. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was my understanding, but what's being applied now, the independent person who shows up once a month, they test the soil where they take it from, then they test it here. I still don't understand why sometimes, it's always good there and sometimes not good here, but That's okay. All of that is governed by, I thought, the DEP. That's under their purview, and we don't have a say on that. I mean, the levels of things. We
Right.
don't have a say on that.
No.
Those are specified. The amount of, I don't wanna say chemicals, but the amount of things that they allow to be there are set by state law, not by us. But he said he was open to concerns of the town, and I think this kind of summarizes the concerns of the town and concerns from residents who have spoken about this.
So can you give that information to Catherine? I guess Catherine, can you type that up,
Yeah, I can email her.
put it on town letterhead, and then have it for us to sign at the next meeting? Is that right?
Follow-up question
Yeah.
for Mike. Mike, what person, board, or committee should complaints be addressed to if a violation is found, or thought to be found?
Yep. Well, I would say it would be, unfortunately, it would be
You?
your board.
You? Us?
I would be more than happy to take complaints on it, except I will probably just have to come back to you folks to find out what to do about some of this stuff.
So it almost sounds like it might be a different person or a board committee for some of these 10 things that you've listed on here.
Yeah,
A good idea might be to outline on each of those stipulations, if there are complaints against those stipulations, who should be heard, who should hear those complaints, like Ed's saying. I mean, all of them aren't gonna fall under one person, right? Unless it comes to
Exactly,
us.
but, we need to, us as well as any complainant would need to know who to contact or what board to contact with any complaints.
okay.
And your letter here that was dated October 2nd, really excellent, trying to protect the aquifer and the town drinking water. That's really important. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Something else?
Yeah, I'm all set.
But we're not presenting this to Bill Daly. This is getting presented to the DEP.
I believe so, yes.
They're gonna make the determination on what's gonna be put
Okay,
in
yeah.
place.
Right, I
And
believe so.
it's gonna be them that's gonna be enforcing it, because they've put it
Or
in
not.
place. Or not, whatever they
Right.
decide.
Right,
Okay.
Yes.
I think we're good. So if you wanna do that with Catherine, and then I would assume by the next meeting, we'll have that in place, and we can sign it and send it off to DEP and see what happens. Okay, I found out Caitlin is a notary, so I'll see her tomorrow. So that's something else. Now, town hall employee hours on election day, I'm assuming they wanna limit the number of people in town hall during that day, since there's gonna be people in and out for elections, so, they wanna work remotely.
Remotely was requested.
I'm okay. Anybody else have any concerns about that? Ed, anything?
No, that was done in the last election and seemed to work out well.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Kathy, all set with that?
I'm all set.
Require a motion?
What?
Does it require a motion?
Probably.
Then I make a motion that, on election day, November 3rd, 2020, all town employees not required to be in the building for election purposes be allowed to work remotely.
Yes. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right. Now we are going to move on. You all set, Mike? I don't know if you
Yes.
need to stay here. To liquor license fees and discussion, and I'm looking for the email.
Mr.
from-
Chair,
Yes.
is Ellen still in the building? I wonder if we can circle back around to that $260,000 of ATM article transfers to other funds.
Give me that pile. It's in this,
She sent me an answer.
Oh, she did?
Yep.
it's in that pile.
This is the bill warrant.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Mike, nice seeing you again. Been a while.
This is our stack. So we're looking for the
Did she have a Clip Note version of what that entailed?
Yeah.
Yes, I texted it to you, but it's been crazy.
To me?
It's the transfer
Oh.
for stabilization, 100,000, capital stabilization,
Oh, there you go.
75,000, and OPED,
OPEB?
85,000.
Okay.
Yeah, ATM article transfers right here, 260, right on the top.
Can I move that we,
Didn't even have to
move
go
that,
through the pile.
motion forward?
Here you go.
All right, so
Oh, good.
motion on
So good
bill
when it's
warrant
wonderful.
21-17.
It's just,
Any other questions on that?
No, I'll second that.
Seconded. Any other questions on that?
you weren't here at town meeting, that's.
All those in favor?
Yep.
All right. Cancel that out.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, no problem. Liquor license fees, so the suggestion from Denise was a couple of things. We consider providing the 2021 liquor license and common victular license to the Fairways in Cedardale at no cost, since they were really unable to use their 2020 license because of the pandemic. Additionally, she would recommend a 50% discount to the other two premise license, Tea Garden and Pub 97, not on the common vic though. Again, because of the hit for the COVID pandemic. It would be a bit of a hit to the town, but I think, as she suggested, that it'll be a good gesture to those businesses and, you know, kind of the loss of business that they experienced over the last 10 months or so. So does anybody have any information or any questions on that, Kathy?
No, I think it's a good idea. These businesses are struggling.
Bill?
No, I think it's, you know, considering the situation we're in, it's the least we can do and probably the right thing to do by our businesses, help them out.
Jason?
I agree with it.
Ed?
Yeah, I concur that that's the prudent thing to do.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'd like to be able to do more, but I think that at least a good gesture to help out.
I had actually inquired into what it would cost, what the hit would be to waive them all.
Yeah.
And it was over $11,000, which I thought was just, considering where we
Tight
don't know
everything,
where
yeah.
we're gonna be financially,
Yep.
probably a little bit too much.
Okay. Someone will make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that for the year 2021, we grant the liquor license and common victular license to the Fairways and to Cedardale at no cost, and further that we discount the liquor licenses for Tea Garden and Pub 97 to 50%.
Get a second?
A
Sec-
second.
Second by Jason. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yep.
All right, thank you. I'm going to jump down to items not anticipated at time of posting. So there was correspondence from the Town Government Study Committee that was part of the packet. And then I gotta grab Chris because he has to talk to us about the cable stuff. You're up. Sure.
So are we talking about cable stuff or this?
Well, so he had an update on the
Equipment.
equipment that we approved last meeting, but there was a question on it because of having to go out to bid and the timeline for those bids to come back, and then the timeline for that company to come in and actually do the work. So if we went that route, it's gonna be, what, February, maybe, by the time? The
You mean if it
initial
went
bid.
out to bid?
The initial project that you came in on, right?
Well, okay, so let me start. UMS, who I wanted to work with, they're not on the state bid list.
Right.
So we can't work with them, or we have to put it out to bid, and that would take longer than I want this to take. So I sent today a quote from HB Communications. They're on the off 40 state contract. We can approve that and be ready to move forward tomorrow. They came in higher than what was approved at the last meeting, because we're now working with a different company. There were two changes I wanted to make to the project on that. The system that we had originally spec'd out with UMS is 3 years old. HB was able to get a price about $20,000 cheaper, somewhere in that ballpark, And it covers all 8 of the SDI inputs we need over in the other building. The other one, you need an expansion module, and it's current to July. So I think for a number of reasons, it would be smarter and more efficient to go with the newer system. That means it'll last longer, the software will be supported longer, all that. It is about $7,000 more than what we had thought, you know, what the predecessor system would come in at. So we're looking at $52,273 versus the.
45,432.
Right. So that's, either way, it was more to work with HB, so I didn't know if I needed approval for that anyway, so I figured.
So that,
we'd take care of 2 birds with one
52
stone.
and change is still less than the approval of town meeting for the 150,000 or whatever it
Right,
was.
yeah,
It gets us newer equipment.
Right.
It gets us equipment that lasts longer.
Right.
And we can get the equipment a lot sooner because we don't have to
right.
go out to bid.
We're
to do
looking
all that.
at, they said 4 to 5 weeks. Everything's been super slowed down because of COVID and
Yep.
getting materials and stuff like that. It's been cut in half from where it was earlier in the year, so that's good. I'm hopeful that, you know, in 2 or 3 meetings, we can be up and running over there.
So we could have it done by the end of the year.
Yes, yeah, I think we can have it done by early December. It is contingent on what HB's installation schedule is, but yeah, I will update you as soon as I know exactly on that. So, yeah,
So I thought that we probably would have to vote that we accept, or if we're not going to accept, the new increase to that line, or to that expenditure that we agreed to last meeting, so.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions on it? I think it's worthwhile, but, Bill, anything?
No, this is my question 2 weeks ago, that I wanted to make sure that we were getting the most up-to-date version.
Yeah,
So
and that was the one question I had when I was here 2 weeks ago is, there might be a more newer system. I need to look into that. So we did, and that's what this is.
And it sounds like better value.
Yeah, much better.
I'm always for better value.
Kathy, anything you want to add?
No, I just would like, I know right now you're really busy, but at some point I'd like a layman's like explanation of what we're buying, like written
Yeah.
down things, so, say, okay, so we got this thing, it does this, because
I can
it's so
tell you.
highly technical, you know, when you
Sure.
speak, it's like, I feel like I'm talking to my son who's a live sound engineer, I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting and
Yeah.
hard, but I don't know what you're talking about.
So what this is, just so you know, just so everyone knows, this is the main system that records all of the meetings. It does all the switching, you know, when you see a camera change, you know, that's the system that this runs through. It's the brains of our whole recording broadcast. We can't go live from that meeting room without a system like this. So it's important, and, you know, we got about 6 years out of the other one, which is probably 2 longer than we should have, but, you know, with COVID and everything, I had hoped to replace that one a little earlier, and things got crazy. So
Okay, and so what's in this room then?
we have a smaller system over here. We have a 4-camera system. We have 6 cameras over in the other building.
But I mean, is this system getting updated, or is
This system is old, but this system has rarely ever been used. So in terms of like usage life, it should be replaced next, but it's probably been used, you know, 2% of the time. You know, I don't know an exact number, but we've only met over here probably 10 times in the last 6 years. So
Okay.
I don't think it's in any danger of failing.
No, but I mean, from a technical
Sure.
use standpoint, will somebody running the system here, will it be different than running the system, the new system?
It'll be pretty similar. It'll be updated. It's the same, you know, big control panel with buttons that you press to switch cameras. It's the similar interface. You know, it'll be a little newer, so I'll have to get up to speed on that. But it shouldn't be anything different. We're sticking with the same company, New Tech, because they've been great. You know, I haven't had any issues with that other system really ever. So that's that. I added 2 or 3, I'd have to double check, boundary mics, because we were always one short, you know, for Denise over there, the finance.
So these systems
Yeah.
both of these systems can broadcast live
Yep.
and can record,
Yep.
right?
I mean, the broadcast live piece isn't that isn't part of the new tech, but you can't go live without a functioning, machine over there. Does that make sense? Like,
Okay.
so,
And the equipment that's at the police station
Right.
is for,
that is everything playback and everything.
It's recording and playback.
Those are our video servers. So every time we're live, we're either generating from this building or the other building.
Right.
And, every time you watch a live meeting, that's where that's coming from, but it beams over to the head end. And every time you watch a replay of something, or, a public access show or whatever, all of that is stored on those servers over there. We did replace those maybe a year or two ago. I'd have to double check, but those are in good shape.
okay. And why did we put them over there and not over? with the-
That's where they were when I
When you
came
got-
here, and it would be a lot of redoing everything to change that. It's contingent on where Comcast puts the drop.
Okay.
We don't have space available in the town hall because
Right.
of, space. So I think it makes sense to leave it there. The public isn't going in and out of that room for a very good reason, so.
So sometimes I've gotten a comment that like, when people are watching the live,
Yeah,
is it the live or the computer? One of the two, they say they can't hear anything. hardly.
It's on the YouTube channel, they can't
Is
hear.
that it? And I'm just curious, like, why that would happen.
recently, or?
Like all
No,
the time, all the time.
I've watched the YouTube ones and I don't have a problem hearing it, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's consistent.
It should be, especially since we retooled the mics. I preview everything. It depends on what you're previewing it on. If you don't have speakers hooked up to your computer, you're not gonna hear it.
So it could be that the
Could be user
person's
error.
home computer.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And that could be the issue? Okay.
If anyone's having problems, I'm happy to help try and troubleshoot with,
Okay.
whoever, but, it's the same file that goes out over the broadcast, so if you can't hear it well, that's not always true, because Comcast, sometimes, there's issues there, but,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
We also have been live streaming too, so if, they can go right on the town website and watch the
Right.
live stream while we're live.
Oh, okay, that's maybe a better option than the YouTube option?
Well, YouTube's a playback for recording.
Yeah,
Live is
it's up to
live.
however you want to do it.
Right.
If you want to see it in real time, you'll go to the stream. If you want to catch a replay.
Ed, do you have any other questions?
While you're on that, there was a government study committee meeting last week, and
Yeah.
it was held here.
Yeah.
And some of the complaints about poor video quality. When you're using this machine in here, does it show what's going out live like it does over at the town
I don't
hall?
have a preview screen in there of the live feed. I can pull it up on my phone or whatever. What were the complaints, that the
It
lighting
was,
wasn't great, or?
Just the audio was fine.
Yeah.
But the video quality was horrible. It was like lines in it. And I don't know if there was another meeting there was one right after that, I think, but I don't know what that was. I know that particular meeting, it was.
Was screwy?
Video wasn't good.
That could be an issue with the playback modulators from Comcast. I checked the file and I didn't notice anything, but I thought we lost a playback box in the head end. So if, that could be on the channel. I'll double check. I'll
Because
look
I
into
got a
that.
couple of calls on, and then I turned it on, and it was, yeah, you could hear it fine, but just watching it was,
Okay, I'll call the head end about that. Usually if we're getting bad signal quality, it's something over there they need to reset or something like that.
because generally, the audio quality from here
Yeah.
has been better than over at the town hall.
Yeah, it's a smaller space. It's better for acoustic reasons, yeah.
Yeah, but that picture wasn't good at all.
Okay, I would say, just check on the YouTube channel. That picture quality should be way better. And I'll get that fixed.
All set, Ed?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Jason, anything?
Nope, good.
Someone want to make a motion on accepting this or not accepting this?
Oh, how much is it?
$52,273.
I'm gonna go switch the camera back onto you.
All right, Yep.
Oh, that's all right. Well, should we round it or something, like up to 55,000 or something? Do we,
Well,
I mean,
Catherine, do you have that info on what else is coming out of that 150 approval? Did Ellen get that to you? So there's other things coming out of that line item on that $150,000 approval from town meeting, not just as 55,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
But we don't know what that consists of, and we don't think it's anywhere near that 150,000 mark, so
That's correct.
we should be okay.
Less than 52.
So the number I have is 52,273, but if you want to say up to 53,000, that should be probably acceptable.
That would be sufficient.
okay, the voice for, okay, I make a motion for up to 53,000 to purchase what's necessary to repair, replace the recording equipment at the town hall. Meeting room.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Fantastic. Let's do selectmen time and reports and old or unfinished business as one. Ed, you have anything for that?
I don't have anything.
Jason?
No, I don't have anything.
I don't think I have anything. I'll reserve a callback. Bill?
Yes, I do. I'd like to read a little something and make a short little statement. So I'm going to start out with this. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. For those of you that don't recall these words, these are the opening paragraph and a half of the Declaration of Independence. 256 years ago, these words and the words that followed it declared our independence and our throwing off the chains of tyranny from an oppressive king. In 7 short days, we'll be asked to vote. Since that time, 256 years ago, countless men and women, and by today's standards, children, have fought and died to protect this idea, the idea of self-governing. In order to honor some of these people, all of these people that came before and continue to fight for our independence and our freedom, I ask you that you honor them by fulfilling your duty and your obligation to see that this republic, this idea that was formulated 256 years ago, does not die, but continues to live. Toward that, I would beg that every able-bodied citizen that is registered and able to vote have a plan, make a plan, get out and vote, whether it be early, absentee, or in person. And I beg you that in the words of famous President Abraham Lincoln, so that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Please, please, it is your duty. Don't Elections are not a spectator sport. We expect you and everyone else to be a participant. I think Selectman Naves told me there were approximately 2,900 registered voters in this town. Is that true?
Yes, according to what I got from Beth.
What would make me the proudest individual on the face of the earth is if we had 2,900 votes. It's irrelevant who you vote for. Doesn't matter how you cast your vote. The most important thing is you exercise the freedom, the rights that people have fought and died for over 256 years and will continue to fight for you. Please, 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 vote. Thank you.
You all set with everything else?
I have nothing else after that.
Kathy?
Yes. I'm thinking that the small project I took on with the CARES Act is, I think, now done. I mean, except for the hours things, which you're going to handle. So, she's put together a list from all the departments of what they wanted, you know, changes, air vents cleaned. All of that is all in that, document that she put together. And it's quite a big sum of money, but looking at what's going on, it's gonna be money that's well spent to clean our buildings and make them healthier and safer for everybody to continue to work in. So I'm thinking that that's probably the end of that kind of spending. Any spending going forward would be something that the new financial director could come up with, you know, as far as supplies and things that we might still need. So I like to have some little projects to work on, and I was thinking about the site walk that Jason and I went on with Mike Dempsey, and two particular places that we met. We walked at the old water and sewer building and that parcel, and then the parcel of land on the side of Johnson's Pond where the pumping station, I guess it doesn't work anymore, but the Haverhill pumping station was. And Mike kind of laid out for us what needs to happen to move those projects forward. I don't know if we could make the deadline to get some application or something into the CPA this year, but it would be nice to get something started on both of those parcels if the board here agrees. I don't know if you remember the summary that Mike wrote up and Jason and I added to it. The parcel up by the pumping station would create a great deal of additional parking for the use of Johnson's Pond, I think, which is in short supply on that side of the pond. It also has really, really nice access to the pond so that, you know, like a sailing club or something like that, if that ever wanted to be something that the people in town wanted to have, that would be a beautiful pond to do that on. But I believe Haverhill owns that land right now on the pumping station, so we would need to kind of figure that out, like who to speak to in Haverhill, start a dialogue and, you know, put in for some CPA funding to get it started. So I'm just wondering, does the board need to see those documents again at the next meeting to think about those two things, or?
I would need to see those again, because I don't recall at this moment what that is. What location, what pumping station?
It's up on Johnson's Pond.
Lower Center Street there?
Is that called Lower when you go up that way? Yeah.
Lower Center Street goes behind Johnson's Pond to Boxford.
Yes, around there. Yeah, like there's a red fire hydrant there that kind of tells you when you're there. And there's a big building that has a tall chimney.
And what do you want? You want Haverhill to allow you to do something there?
Well, we'd like to, I think, get the water rights from Haverhill and that parcel of land. I'm assuming they own it because their pumping station's on it. Even though we're in Groveland there, right? But
That line is very gray.
Sketchy.
Sketchy.
With that line of the boundary between, I think that's actually a triangle there, that line between Groveland, Haverhill, and Boxford. I think it's Boxford. That area is gray.
Okay.
So I think Jeff actually has an aerial outline that he shared with me about a year ago of what that looks like for plot lines.
Jeff
Gillen.
Gillen. Oh, okay, but, so my question is, and there's that, and again, the future use of that would be, it's a really nice access to the pond there. Plus, there could be quite a bit of parking if it was cleared out a little, and the parking would be down off the road, so it wouldn't be blocking, it's kind of a narrow road up there, and I know they put the boulders up so that people shouldn't park along the road there. But it looks like it could be quite an asset to the town, for future use of the pond. And then the other side is the one down on Washington Street, which I know you love, the old Mill Pond, nothing
No
like the
way
old
there's going
Mill-
to be a skating rink back there.
Yeah, never say no,
There's
but
no way.
the point of the.
You can do all the work you want on it, but there's no way people are gonna vote to put a skating rink back there.
Not a vote, the pond is there, you don't put a rink, it freezes in the winter, you skate on it.
No, I thought you wanted to rehab that whole area into
Well,
something that was.
clean it up a little, but no, I'm not talking about a major development. The issue would be that the pond actually is owned by the Catholic Church. And I guess it always has been, and we swam, and the Groveland used it for a swimming center.
Does their land go back that far?
According to Mike, he said that we'd have to speak to the church about that.
I thought it ended at the Valley Screw development area.
This was what, he provided Jason and I with a lot of documentation, and this was part of it.
This is exactly what Mike said.
I don't
Thank
know,
you,
I'm
Jason.
guessing.
Look at
Oh, we should have
back
asked him when he
up.
was here, so next week when he comes in with this letter, we can ask him about it, so. how
Okay,
about that?
so this might be something that we could consider as kind of little side projects.
It's up to the board, if they wanna say that you can do it, it's not up to me.
Okay, well, it's not doing it, it's kind of moving it forward to a point where a town meeting could actually say yay or nay that they want to do something about it.
I don't know if you need, I don't know if anybody needs the board's permission or approval to do anything like that. Washington Park was done with a group of individuals that wanted to rehab Washington Park, brought the project to CPA, brought it to
Correct, those
the
are,
town, and then it got done. I
well,
mean,
I'm saying the group of the Board of Selectmen, if they think this is something good, could support putting this to the CPA. I mean, why do we always have to go out and give it to some other group? Why can't we do something
We don't
once in
have
a
to
while?
give it to anybody.
Okay, well, that's all I was
Usually
asking.
People are taking it upon themselves to do things like this on their own and then bring it to CPA, because there's a will out there to want to change something, or fix something, or rehabilitate something, or repair something.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I'd like to hear from the other board members if they think this sounds like a reasonable idea. I'm not gonna go out and recruit a team of people during the COVID to go work on this. I think it's something that, Mike put some thought into, put some documentation together, and worth exploring to see how far we can get on it.
Sure.
Okay, that's all. Oh.
Anything else?
One last thing, is Denise still working for us or not?
She's still coming in on Friday, and she is still gonna do transition stuff while we spin up Kevin in the next.
Would it be possible in the time that she does give us, to give us a breakdown on the free cash? It is lower than I anticipated. Just in my head, I was thinking that the bad year would be after next year, not this year that we just closed out. So I'm just kind of wondering where it fell off, or if maybe there's just something else that she knew about that I don't.
Well, free cash, I can't say any of these things today. Free cash is
Not
always
free.
a variable and never consistent, so just because it's,
It's been like
no,
four to
not when I've been
600.
seeing it the last 6 years, it's always been anywhere from 2 to 700,000.
But with Denise,
But
it
that's
was
why
like-
you can't use that to balance the budget, because you never know what it's going to
Well,
be.
you understand that we have been. We are still entrenched in that.
Balancing the budget with free cash, we haven't done
Yes.
that for years.
No, we use it for the OPED, we go look at the town warrant. We have. We've been moving
I
away.
think we backfill it with
It's the same,
OPEB.
it's the
No,
same.
no, it is
Well,
not.
some of these things are funded with the free cash, if you look
Only
at the-
funded after that free cash is announced, not as part of the line
Oh, I
item for
know
the
that,
budget.
but I'm
Well,
saying
that's
these-
two separate things. I mean, funding it means that we're
Okay.
going to expect that this is going to be
But my
We're
point
gonna
is-
give it to these departments to do whatever we're gonna buy, and then that's
My
not there.
Point is that we used it towards capital, and we used it towards the OPED, and I forget what else. So-
Stabilization.
Yeah,
No, there might have been something else too, that was in the budget.
yeah, but that's after we know what we have for free
Right,
cash.
I know, I'm just saying.
It's after balancing the budget. we
I'm
put
just
that-
saying, looking forward, it would help me to understand why we went from like 5 to 200,000. I just like to know where
I don't
it
know that she
fell
would
off.
have an answer. Well, I mean, we can ask her. I don't know that she'd have an answer as to why that was, other than whatever the revenue we took in is reflecting that.
Right, there's only certain variances, if people don't pay their taxes, if there's not as much excise, if budgets were more overspent, but we had a pretty light winter last year, so I'm just, I'm just surprised, that's all.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion to end this meeting?
I move to adjourn this meeting at 6:37 PM.
All those in favor?
Yep.
God bless you in there, Chris, I heard you.
So the student that threw up in